Today, myself Rajeshwari. Today we'll study about Clostridium. So let's begin. Here in this video, we'll study about morphology, general features. Under general features, morphology, culture, biochemical reactions, resistance, toxin, and Clostridium perfringens. About morphology, culture, biochemical reactions, resistance, classification, pathogenesis, laboratory diagnosis, prophylaxis, and then we'll study about Clostridium tetani. Under this, we'll study about its morphology, culture, biochemical reactions, resistance, classification, toxin, pathogenesis, laboratory diagnosis, prophylaxis, treatment, and then we'll study about Clostridium botulinum. Here we'll study about its morphology, again culture, resistance, classification, toxin, pathogenesis, laboratory diagnosis, prophylaxis and treatment. Then we'll study about Clostridium difficile. Under this we'll study about its morphology, toxin, pathogenesis, laboratory diagnosis and treatment. Then now we will start. We will begin. The genus Clostridium consists of anaerobic spore-forming gram-positive bacilli. The spores are wider than the bacterial bodies, giving the bacillus a swollen appearance resembling a spindle. The name Clostridium is derived from the word cluster. That means cluster means spindle. So, most species are saprophytes found in soil, water, and decomposing plant and animal matter. Some of the pathogens, example Clostridium tetani and Clostridium perfringens, are commensals of the intestinal tract of human and animals. The genus contains bacteria that cause three major diseases of man: tetanus, gas gangrene, and food poisoning. Clostridial pathogenicity is mainly due to production of a powerful exotoxin. Clostridium botulinum is non-invasive. Clostridium tetani is slightly invasive, and Clostridia causing gas gangrene are not only toxigenic but are also invasive. Most species of the genus are motile with petriticus flagella except Clostridium perfringens and Clostridium tetani type 6, which are non-motile. All Clostridia are non-capsulated but exception of Clostridium perfringens and Clostridium Butaricum. Now let's know about the classification. First is tetanus. Tetanus, that is Clostridium tetani. Gas gangrene, it is established pathogens. Example Clostridium perfringens, Clostridium welchii, Clostridium septicum, Clostridium novi, Clostridium oedematis. Now, second type is less pathogenic. According to less pathogenic, Clostridium histolyticum, Clostridium halax, and doubtful pathogen means it is under example is Clostridium biformantans and Clostridium sporogenes. Now come to food poisoning. Gastroenteritis, Clostridium perfringens type A, necrotizing enteritis, it is Clostridium perfringens type C, botulism, that is Clostridium botulinum, acute colitis, Clostridium difficile. Now come to general features. Under this, morphology is there. Clostridia are gram-positive spore-forming rods, usually 3 to 8 micrometer into 0.4 to 1.2 micrometer in size and are highly pleomorphic. The shape and position of spores varies in different species and is useful in Identification of Clostridia. Spores may be, first point is central or equatorial in Clostridium biformantans, soft terminal, giving a drumstick appearance in Clostridium tetani. Now come to culture. Clostridia grow well on ordinary media under anaerobic conditions. Inoculated culture, example blood agar, is placed in anaerobic jar from which air is removed and placed and replaced with a mixture of nitrogen and carbon dioxide. The anaerobic jar containing culture media is incubated at 37 degrees centigrade for 2 to 3 days. Most Clostridia produce colonies surrounded by hemolysis on blood agar, liquid media with cooked meat broth, in short, CMB, or thioglycolate media containing reducing agent thioglycolate and 0.1% agar are very useful for growing Clostridia. CMB contains unsaturated fatty acids which take up oxygen and the reaction is catalyzed by hematine in the meat and also sulfhydryl compounds which lower down the redox potential. Growth appears as turbidity in the medium. Proteolytic Clostridia turns the meat black and produce foul odor, whereas saccharolytic species turn the meat pink. Now come to biochemical reaction. Most Clostridia ferment a variety of sugars and hydrolyze protein. Now come to resistance. The vegetative cells of Clostridia do not differ from other non-sporing bacilli in their resistance to various physical and chemical agents. The spores exhibit a variable resistance. Spores of Clostridium tetani persist for years in dried earth. Clostridium perfringens spores are destroyed by boiling for less than 5 minutes, but spores of same strain that is type A that cause food poisoning survive for several hours. Spores of Clostridium botulinum are not killed completely even at 105 degrees centigrade for less than 100 minutes. However, all spores are killed at 121 degrees centigrade within 20 minutes in autoclaving. Halogens and glutaraldehyde, that is 2%, are very effective in killing spores. Aqueous iodine solution, that is 1%, kill spores within 3 hours. Spores are resistant to phenolic disinfectants. Formaldehyde is not very active. Clostridia are susceptible to metronidazole, penicillin, chloramphenicol, and erythromycin, but are resistant to aminoglycosides and quinolones. Now come to toxin. Most Clostridia produce one or more protein toxins which are responsible for pathogenic effects. Toxins of Clostridia tetani and Clostridium botulinum attack nervous system and are called neurotoxin. The gas gangrene Clostridia toxin attacks soft tissues and is known as histotoxic. Now come to Clostridium perfringens. Clostridium welchi. The organism was originally cultivated by Achalmy 1891 and was first described in detail by Wells and Nuttall in 1892. Clostridium perfringens is the most important and common etiological agent of gas gangrene, that is 60%, followed by Clostridium novi, that is 30 to 40%, and Clostridium septicum, that is 10 to 20%. Clostridium perfringens also produces food poisoning and necrotizing enteritis in man. Clostridium perfringens is a commensal in the large intestine of man and animals. The spores are commonly found in soil and dust. Now come to morphology. It is a large, stout, gram-positive bacilli measuring 4 to 6 micrometer into 1 micrometer with subterminal spore. It usually occurs singly or in chains and is pleomorphic. Involution forms are common. It is capsulated and non-motile. The spores are rarely seen in artificial culture or in tissue, and their absence is one of the characteristic features of Clostridium perfringens. Spore formation can be induced only on special media. Now come to culture. It grows on blood agar, cooked meat broth and thioglycolate broth within 24 to 48 hours. It grows best in carbohydrate containing media like glucose, blood agar. It is anaerobic and grows over a pH range of 5.5 to 8.0 and wide temperature range of 20 degrees centigrade to 50 degrees centigrade. The optimum temperature for growth is 37 degrees centigrade. On blood agar, colonies of most strains show a target hemolysis resulting from a narrow zone of complete hemolysis caused by theta toxin and a much wider zone of incomplete hemolysis due to alpha toxin. In cooked meat broth, the meat pieces turn pink but are not digested. Biochemical reactions. Clostridium perfringens is predominantly saccharolytic but also have mild proteolytic action, and that is gelatin liquefaction. It ferments glucose, lactose, sucrose and maltose with the production of acid and gas. It is indole negative. S2S is formed abundantly. MR is positive and BP negative. Most strains can reduce nitrates in litmus milk. Lactose fermentation leads to formation of acid which changes the color of litmus from blue to red. The acid coagulates the casein. Acid clot and the clotted milk is disrupted due to vigorous gas production, and this is known as stormy fermentation. Now come to resistance. Spores are usually destroyed within 5 minutes by boiling, and those of the food poisoning strains type A and certain type C strains resistant boiling for 1 to 3 hours and autoclaving at 121 degrees centigrade for 15 minutes is lethal. Spores are resistant to commonly used antiseptics and disinfectants. Now come to classification. Clostridium perfringens produce at least 12 distinct toxins but on the basis of production of 4 major toxins, that is alpha, beta, epsilon and iota. These are classified into 5 types A to E. Type A strains produce alpha toxin. Type B strain produce alpha, beta and epsilon toxins. Type C strain produce alpha and beta toxins. Type D strains produce alpha and epsilon toxins. Type E strains produce alpha and iota toxins. Type A causes gas gangrene in man, and some strains of type A produce enterotoxin which causes food poisoning. Now come to alpha toxin. It is produced by all types of Clostridium perfringens but most abundantly by type A strains. Chemically, it is a phospholipase lipidase, that is lecithinase C, and is responsible for profound toxemia in gas gangrene. It is relatively heat stable, lethal, dermonecrotic and hemolytic. The toxin is hemolytic for red blood cells of most animal species except those of horse and goat. The hemolysis of the hot cold variety that is best seen after incubation at 37 degrees centigrade followed by chilling at 4 degrees centigrade. The toxin splites lecithin, an important constituent of mammalian cell membrane, and this specific effect of toxin is utilized for rapid detection of Clostridium perfringens in clinical specimens. Now come to Nagler reaction. Clostridium perfringens is grown on a medium containing 6% agar, 5% fields, peptic digest of sheep blood and 20% human serum or 5% egg yolk in a plate. Neomycin sulfate may be added to the medium to make it more selective by inhibiting aerobic spore barriers and coliforms. To one half of the plate, antitoxin is sprayed on the surface. The inoculated culture plate is incubated at 37 degrees centigrade for 24 hours. Colonies on the half plate without the antitoxin will be surrounded by opacity, while colonies on the other half with antitoxin shows no opacity due to specific neutralization of the alpha toxin. Alpha toxin splits lecithin into phosphoryl choline and a diglyceride, that is lipid. The lipid deposits around the colonies resulting in opacity. Certain lecithinase forming bacteria, that is Clostridium novi, some Vibrios, some aerobic spores barriers may produce opacity in egg yolk media but is not neutralized by Clostridium perfringens antitoxin. Except with Clostridium perfringens antitoxin, except with Clostridium biformantans, which produces a serological related lecithinase. Now come to reverse CAMP test. This test is similar to CAMP test for identifying group B streptococci, except that Clostridium species is inoculated in place of Staphylococcus aureus and a known group B streptococci is used. Although group B streptococci may show some enhanced hemolysis with other Clostridia, but only Clostridium perfringens exhibits attenuated zone of hemolysis as butterfly appearance. Now, let's know about some major toxins. Beta, epsilon and iota toxin have lethal and necrotizing properties. Now come to minor toxins. Gamma and eta toxins have only minor lethal actions. The delta toxin is lethal and hemolytic. The theta toxin is oxygen level and is antigenically related to streptolysin O. The kappa toxin is a collagenase. The lambda toxin is a proteinase and gelatinase. The mu toxin is a hyaluronidase. The nu toxin is a deoxyribonuclease. Now come to enterotoxin. Some strains of type A produce enterotoxin which causes diarrhea and other symptoms of food poisoning. Now come to some other soluble substances. Hemagglutinin, neuraminidase, fibrinolysin, hemolysin and histamine are produced. Now come to pathogenesis. Clostridium perfringens produces some human infections. First point is gas gangrenes. Clostridium perfringens type A is the predominant bacterial agent causing gas gangrene. When a wound gets contaminated by fecal matters or soil, it may lead to simple wound contamination, anaerobic cellulitic lysis or myonecrosis. that is gas gangrene proper. It is only when muscle tissues are invaded that gas gangrene results. The incubation period varies from 6 hours to 6 weeks. Now come to food poisoning. Some strains of type A produce food poisoning. Incubation period varies from 8 to 12 hours. A heat-labile enterotoxin is liberated in small intestine after ingestions of a contaminated food, usually cooked meat and poultry. The toxin acts like enterotoxin of V. cholerae and leads to fluid accumulation in the rabbit ileal loop. Now come to necrotizing enteritis. A severe and fatal necrotizing jejunitis, that is enteritis necroticans, is caused by type C strains of Clostridium perfringens. Active immunization with Clostridium perfringens type C toxoids offers protection against this condition. Other diseases, let's know about the other diseases. These include gangrenous appendicitis, urogenital infections, brain abscess, meningitis, panophthalmitis, and puerperal infection. Now come to laboratory diagnosis. The diagnosis of gas gangrene must be made primarily on clinical grounds, and the laboratory only confirms the clinical diagnosis. The specimens to be collected are exudates from wound, necrotic tissues, and muscle fragments. Now come to, let's know about direct microscopy. Gram stain smears give presumptive diagnosis. Large number of gram-positive bacilli without spores is strongly suggestive of Clostridium perfringens. Citrons bodies and boat or leaf shapes, pleomorphic bacilli with irregular staining suggest Clostridium septicum, and large bacilli with oval subterminal spores indicate Clostridium novi. In case of anaerobic streptococcal myositis, which may be indistinguishable from gas gangrene clinically in the early stages. The gram-stained smear shows large number of streptococci and pus cells but no bacilli. Now let's know about the culture. The specimens are inoculated on fresh and heated blood agar and cooked meat broth. In short, CMB. Growth of CMB is subcultured on blood agar plate after 24 to 48 hours. The blood agar is incubated anaerobically for 48 to 72 hours. Most strains produce beta hemolysis on blood agar and few are non-hemolytic. A plate of serum or egg yolk agar is used for Nagler reaction. The bacterial isolates are identified by morphology, cultural characteristics, biochemical reactions, and reverse CAMP test. Toxigenicity of the strain can be done by animal pathogenicity. Let's know about animal pathogenicity. 0.1 ml of 24 hours growth in cooked meat broth is injected into a healthy guinea pig by intramuscular route. The animal dies within 24 hours. A protected with control animal protected with anti-serum prior to test is also included. On autopsy, bacteria can be recovered from heart and spleen of the test animal. Laboratory diagnosis of food poisoning is made by isolated heat-resistant Clostridium perfringens type A from the fishes and food. Laboratory methods are same, but selective media are used for direct plating. RCM broth is inoculated and heated at 100 degrees centigrade for 30 minutes. After cooling, it is incubated at 37 degrees centigrade for 18 hours and subcultured on selective medium, which is then incubated anaerobically at 37 degrees centigrade for 18 hours. The bacterial isolates are identified by morphology, cultural characteristics, biochemical reactions and Nagler's reaction. Now come to as Clostridium perfringens may be present in normal intestines, isolation from feces except in large number is not meaningful. Now come to prophylaxis. First point is surgery. As a prophylactic measure, all damaged tissue should be removed promptly and the wound is irrigated with antiseptic solution to remove blood clots, necrotic tissue and foreign materials. In established gangrene, on compromising excision of all affected tissue may save life. Now come to antibiotics. Gas gangrene organisms are susceptible to metronidazole, penicillin, sulfonamide, tetracycline and amoxicillin. Antitoxin. Let's know about antitoxin. Passive immunization with anti-gas gangrene serum is used prophylactically in cases with extensively soiled wounds. Precautions must be taken to guard against hypersensitivity to horse serum. Now come to hyperbaric oxygen. Hyperbaric oxygen is introduced in the depth of wound to reduce anaerobiosis. Now come to active immunization. Toxoids have been found experimentally to induce antitoxic response, but it has not come into practical use. Now come to Clostridium tetani. Clostridium tetani is the causative agent of tetanus disease, which has been known since very early times. Clostridium tetani is widely distributed in soil and intestine of man and animals. It is ubiquitous. Now come to morphology. It is a gram-positive slender bacillus with spherical terminal spores, giving the bacillus the characteristic drumstick appearance. It is non-capsulated and motile with peritrichate flagella. The young cultures are strongly gram-positive, but old cultures may show variable strains and may even be gram-negative. Now come to culture. It is an obligate anaerobe which grows on ordinary media. Growth is improved by the addition of blood or serum. The optimum temperature for growth is 37 degrees centigrade and pH is 7.4. It can grow well in cooked meat broth, that is CMB, thioglycolate broth, nutrient agar and blood agar. The CMB growth In CMB, growth occurs as turbidity and there is also some gas formation. The meat is not digested but becomes black on prolonged incubation. The bacilli produce a swarming growth on blood agar. However, on horse blood agar, they produce alpha hemolytic colonies which subsequently develop into beta hemolytic due to the production of a hemolysin. Now come to biochemical reactions. Clostridium tetani has light proteolytic but no saccharolytic property. Gelatin liquefaction occurs very slowly. It does not ferment any sugar. It forms indole but is MR and VP negative. H2S is not formed. Nitrates are not reduced. A greenish fluorescence is produced on media containing neutral red. Example, McConkey medium. McConkey's medium. Now come to resistance. The resistance of Clostridium tetani spores to heat vary. A. vary in different strains. Most of the strains are killed by boiling for 10 to 15 minutes, but some resist boiling for 3 hours. However, autoclaving kills the spores of most strains. Spores are also killed with iodine, that is 1% aqueous solution, hydrogen peroxide, that is 10 volumes, and glutaraldehyde, that is 2% within a few hours. The spores may survive in soil for years. Now come to classification. 10 serological types, type 1 to 10 of Clostridium tetani have been recognized based on type specific flagella, that is H antigens by agglutination test. Type 6 strains are non-flagellated. All the types produce the same toxin which can be neutralized by antitoxin produced against any one type. Now come to toxin. Clostridium tetani produces two distinct toxins. Tetanolysin, that is or we can say hemolysin, and other is tetanospasmin. In otherwise we call it neurotoxin. Now come to first point is tetanolysin. Tetanolysin is a heat labile oxygen labile toxin which causes lysis of erythrocytes of several animal species, especially the rabbit and horse. It may act as a leukotoxin, but its pathogenic role is not clear. Now come to tetanospasmin. Tetanospasmin is a heat-labile, oxygen-stable, powerful neurotoxin and rapidly gets destroyed by proteolytic enzymes. It is protein in nature. It is plasmid coded. This is responsible for clinical manifestations of tetanus. On its release from the bacillus, it is autolyzed to form a heterodimer consisting of a large polypeptide chain and a smaller polypeptide chain joined by a disulfide bond. It is lethal to mice and guinea pigs in minute doses. Tetanospasmin is a good antigen and is specifically neutralized by the antitoxin. Now come to pathogenesis. Clostridium tetani has a little invasive power. The tetanus develops following the contamination of wound with Clostridium tetani spores. The source of infection may be soil, dust, fishes, etc. Infection strictly remains localized in the wound. Germination of spores and toxin production occur only if favorable conditions exist, such as reduced OR potential, devitalized tissues, and foreign bodies. Pathogenic effects are mainly due to tetanospasmin, that is neurotoxin of Clostridium tetani. The tetanus toxin specifically blocks synaptic inhibition in the spinal cord. The toxin acts presynaptically. The abolition of spinal inhibition leads to uncontrolled spread of impulses initiated anywhere in the central nervous system. This results in muscle rigidity and spasms due to the simultaneous contraction of agonist and antagonist. Now come to laboratory diagnosis. The diagnosis of tetanus should always be made clinically, and laboratory tests are done only to confirm it. Laboratory diagnosis may be made by demonstration of bacilli by microscope, culture, or by animal inoculation. Specimens generally collected are wound swab, exudate, or tissue from the wound. Now come to microscopy. Gram staining may be gram positive bacilli. Gram staining may show gram positive bacilli with drumstick appearance, but these are indistinguishable from morphologically similar non-pathogenic bacilli like Clostridium titanomorphum and Clostridium sphenoides. Hence, microscopy alone is unreliable, but diagnosis by culture is more dependable. Now come to culture. Specimen is inoculated on freshly prepared blood agar and incubated at 37 degrees centigrade for 24 to 48 hours under anaerobic conditions. The incorporation of polymyxin B in culture medium makes it more selective as Clostridia are resistant to this antibiotic. Clostridium tetani produces a swarming growth. The specimen is also inoculated in 3 tubes of cooked meat broth. One of these tubes is heated at 80 degrees centigrade for 15 minutes, the second tube for 15 minutes, and the third left unheated. Heating for different periods is to kill vegetative bacteria while leaving tetanus spores undamaged. This cooked meat broth are incubated at 37 degrees centigrade and subcultured on blood agar plates daily for up to 4 days. Gram stained smear from culture shows typical gram positive bacilli with drumstick appearance. Now come to toxigenicity test. Pathogenicity of the isolated organism is established with demonstration of toxin production. It is best tested in animals 0.2 ml to ml of 2 to 4 days old cooked meat culture is injected into the root of the tail of one mouse test animal. Same amount is injected into another animal that is controlled that has received tetanus antitoxin 1000 units an hour earlier. In positive case, the test animal develops symptoms within 12 to 24 hours, beginning with stiffness of the tail. Rigidity proceeds to the leg on the inoculated side, the another leg, trunk, and forelimbs in that particular order. Death occurs within 2 days but may be killed earlier as the ascending tetanus is very much diagnostic. The control animal does not show any change due to neutralization of toxin by antitoxin. Now come to prophylaxis. The available method are surgical, antibiotics, immunization. First is anti-surgical, second is antibiotics, third is immunization. We'll study first surgical. It aims at removal of foreign body, blood clots, etc. in order to prevent anaerobic conditions favorable for the bacillus. Depending on the type of wound, surgical prophylaxis may vary from simple cleansing to radical excision. Let's know about second point is antibiotics. Antibiotics destroy or inhibit tetanus bacilli and other pyogenic bacteria in wounds, and thus the production of toxin is prevented. Long-acting penicillin injection or erythromycin may be given. Antibiotic prophylaxis does not replace immunization but is a useful adjunct. Now come to immunization. Tetanus is preventable disease. Tetanus is a preventable disease. Now come to first point is active immunization. It is the most effective method of prophylaxis. Tetanus toxoid, that means formal toxoid, which is available either as plain toxoid or adsorbed on aluminum hydroxide or phosphate, is commonly used for active immunization. 3 doses of 0.5 ml tetanus toxoid each are given intramuscularly with an interval of 4 to 6 weeks between first 2 doses and 6 to 12 months between the second and third doses. A full course of 3 doses confers immunity for a period of at least 10 years. A booster dose of toxoid is recommended after 10 years. Tetanus toxoid is given along with diphtheria toxoid and pursued and pertussis vaccine, in short DPT, in children. Pertussis vaccine acts as adjuvant. 3 doses are given intramuscularly at interval of 4 to 6 weeks, starting at age as early as 6 weeks. Booster doses are given at age of 18 months and then at 5 years. Now come to passive immunization. Antitetanus serum prepared by immunizing horses with toxoid has been used for preventing tetanus. The dose is 1500 IU by intramuscular route immediately after wounding. The dose is same for adults and children. Being a horse serum, it carries the risk of hypersensitivity reaction. Therefore, a skin test, that is subcutaneous injection of 0.5 ml ATS is recommended before administering ATS. Homologous serum prepared from human anti-tetanus immunoglobulin, in short HTIT, is now being used without the risk of hypersensitivity. Dose of 250 units is used in prophylaxis. Now come to combined prophylaxis. Let's know about combined prophylaxis. In non-immune person, it is ideal to immunize with first dose of tetanus toxoid in one site along with administration of ATS or HTIG in another arm, followed by the second and third doses of tetanus toxoid at monthly interval. In combined prophylaxis, adsorbed toxoid should be used as immune response to plain toxoid may be interfered with anti-tetanus serum. Now come to treatment. Tetanus patients are treated in special isolated units. The reason for isolation is to protect them from noise and light which may provoke convulsions. These patients are not infectious and person-to-person transmission does not occur at all. The treatment consists of controlling spasm, maintaining airway by tracheostomy and attention to feeding. The antitoxin may be used to neutralize on-bound toxin. Antibiotic therapy with penicillin or metronidazole should be started and continued for a week or more. Patients recovering from tetanus should be immunized with full course of toxoid as an attack of the disease does not confer immunity. Now come to Clostridium botulinum. Clostridium botulinum causes a severe form of food poisoning named botulism. The term botulism means sausage, that is botulus, Latin for sausage, as poorly cooked sausages were formed associated with this type of food poisoning. It is a widely distributed saprophyte and is found in soil, animal manure, vegetables and sea moth. Now come to morphology. It is a gram-positive non-capsulated bacillus about 5 microgram into 1 micrometer, motile by Peritrichate flagella and produces subterminal oval bulging spores. Now come to culture. It is a strict anaerobe and can grow on ordinary media. Optimum temperature is 35 degrees centigrade, but some strains may grow 1 to 5 degrees centigrade. Commonly used media are blood agar and cooked meat broth. Colonies are large, irregular, semi-transparent with fimbriate border. On blood agar, hemolysis around the colonies is observed. Now come to resistance. The spores are highly resistant and can withstand heat for several hours at 100 degrees centigrade and for up to 10 minutes at 120 degrees centigrade, whereas spores of type B, E and F are less resistant to heat. They are also resistant to radiation. Now come to, let's know about the classification. There are 8 types. These are 8 types. First is A, B, C1, C2, D, E, F, G have been identified on the basis of their antigenically distinct toxins. The toxins of different types are identical in their pharmacological action but are neutralized only by the homologous antiserum. Now come to toxin. Clostridium botulinum forms a powerful exotoxin. The toxin differs from other exotoxins in that it is not released during the life of the bacterium. It is produced intracellularly and appears in the medium on autolysis of the cell. It is believed to be synthesized as a non-toxic protoxin or progenitor toxin. Progenitor toxin is converted to active toxin by trypsin and other proteolytic enzymes. The toxin has been isolated as a pure crystalline protein with a molecular weight 70,000. It has a lethal dose for mice, that is 0.000000033 mg, and a lethal dose for humans is probably 1 microgram. It is a neurotoxin and acts slowly, therefore takes several hours to kill. Type A toxin is the most potent. Botulinum toxin is the most toxic substance known so far. The toxin is relatively stable, being inactivated only after 30 to 40 minutes at 80 degrees centigrade and 10 minutes at 100 degrees centigrade. Performed toxin in food is destroyed by boiling for 20 minutes. It is a good antigen and can be neutralized specifically by its antitoxin. The toxin acts by blocking the production or release of acetylcholine at synapses and neuromuscular junctions. Death occurs due to respiratory failure. The toxin production is probably determined by the presence of bacteriophage. Now come to pathogenesis. Clostridium botulinum is non-invasive and its pathogenicity is due to the action of preformed toxin. The manifestations of which are collectively called botulism. Botulism is of 3 types: foodborne, infant, and wound botulism. First is foodborne botulism. It is due to the performed toxin in food contaminated with Clostridium botulinum. Human disease Human disease is usually caused by type A, B, E, and very rarely types C, F, and G. The source of botulism is usually various preserved foods, meat, fish, vegetables, etc. The contaminated food usually exhibited exhibits signs of spoilage, can may be inflated and show bubbles on opening. Often the food may look normal and there is no alteration in taste. The symptoms appear the symptoms appear 12 to 36 hours after ingestion of contaminated food: vomiting, thirst, constipation, ocular paresis, difficulty in swallowing, speaking, and breathing are the common symptoms. Diarrhea is not a symptom. Fatality rate in is 25 to 70% and death results from respiratory failure. Now let's know about infant botulism. It affects infants usually below 6 months. It is a disease due to ingestion of food contaminated by spores of Clostridium botulinum. Honey has been incriminated as a source of infection. It is a toxico-infection. The disease is characterized by constipation, weakness, lethargy, and cranial palsy. Spores and toxin are excreted in the feces of the patient Management is by supportive care and assisted feeding. So, severity of illness varies from mild illness to fatal disease. Now come to wound botulism. It is a very rare condition which results from wound infection with Clostridium botulinum. Toxin produced is absorbed into the blood and symptoms similar to foodborne botulism occur except for the gastrointestinal components which are absent. Type A has been recovered from most of the cases studied. Now come to laboratory diagnosis. Diagnosis may be confirmed by demonstration of the bacillus or the toxin is suscepted residual food or in feces. Now come to demonstration of the organism. Smears made from suspected food or feces are examined by gram staining, which may show gram-positive sporing bacilli. Culture is done on blood agar or cooked meat broth. Growth on culture media may be confirmed by gram staining. Presence of bacilli in food or feces in absence of toxin is of no significance. Hence, toxin is culture fluid must be demonstrated by toxigenicity test in mice. Now, let's know about demonstration of toxin. Specimens, that is stool, food and vomitus, are macerated in sterile saline and filtered. Extract is divided into three parts. One portion of extract is heated at 100 degrees centigrade for 10 minutes and other two kept unheated. Two mice and guinea pigs are injected with unheated filtrate. One of them is protected with polyvalent botulinum antitoxin prior to injection. The third animal is injected with heated filtrate. The test animal unprotected develops dipso diapnoe flaccid paralysis and dies within 24 hours, whereas control animal remains healthy. The animal injected with heated filtrate also remains free of any toxic symptoms. Typing of Clostridium botulinum is done by using a series of animals protected with type-specific antitoxins instead of polyvalent antitoxin. Now let's know about prophylaxis and treatment. As botulism follows consumption of canned or preserved food, control may be achieved by proper canning and preservation. By the time symptoms appear, the toxin is fixed to nervous tissue and it can no longer be inactivated by antitoxin. Intensive support Intensive supportive therapy may bring down the mortality rate. However, if outbreak occurs, prophylactic dose of antitoxin should be given intramuscularly to all who have consumed the suspected food. Antitoxin may be tried for treatment. Polyvalent antiserum to type A, B, and E may be given. Supportive therapy with maintenance of respiration is also very important. If immunization is needed, as in laboratory workers exposed to the risk, two injections of toxin may be administered at the interval of 10 weeks, followed by a booster dose a year later. Now let's know about Clostridium difficile. Clostridium difficile was first isolated from the feces of newborn infants. It was so named due to unusual difficulties involved in its isolation. Now let's know about the morphology. It is a long, slender, gram-positive bacillus containing oval and terminal spores. There is a tendency to lose its gram reaction. Now come to toxins. It produces two toxins, an enterotoxin, toxin A, and a cytotoxin, that is toxin B. The enterotoxin is primarily responsible for diarrhea, whereas cytotoxin is capable of producing cytopathogenic effects in several tissue culture in cell lines. Pathogenesis. Let's know about the pathogenesis. The pathogenic role of Clostridium difficile is established in 1977 when it was found to be responsible for antibiotic associated colitis. Acute colitis with or without membrane formation is an important complication in patients on oral antibiotic therapy. Many antibiotics have been incriminated, but lincomycin and clindamycin are particularly prone to cause pseudomembranous colitis. Active multiplication of Clostridium difficile and the production by it of an enterotoxin as well as its cytotoxin is responsible for antibiotic associated colitis. If the condition is not recognized early and properly treated, it terminates fatality. Now come to laboratory diagnosis. First is demonstration of toxin. Toxin can be demonstrated in the feces by its characteristic effect on human diploid cells and HEP2. ELISA can be used for the demonstration of toxin. The toxin is specifically neutralized by the Clostridium sordelli antitoxin. Now come to isolation of bacilli. Clostridium difficile can be grown from the feces of patients with subsequent test for toxigenicity. Now come to treatment. Clostridium difficile are generally resistant to most antibiotics, but these are susceptible to vancomycin. Clindamycin and lincomycin should be avoided. Metronidazole is the drug of this choice. Finally finished Clostridium. Any questions regarding Clostridium, you can ask me in the comment box and subscribe my channel to know more updates about biotic topics. Thank you.